Hi there, Tamara Dorris, and today we're going to talk about what I have determined, and this is based on my observation and my experience of working with people in various capacities, um, almost 30 years. So back when I started at 28 years as a hypnotherapist, all the way to coaching people in sales, to doing energy healing, to being a coach right now. So all of that combined, I keep journals. And I've always asked myself, my obsession has always been, why do some people get this material? And when I say this material, I'm talking about not just manifestation, because I think that manifestation or law of attraction, I feel like those titles have been really, I don't know, overused. And I'm not just talking about, I want to manifest a car or $1 million. When I use the term intention or manifestation, I'm talking about changing your reality. So what I really focus on is something called conscious creation, because we know now through quantum science that it's very likely, very possible, that our entire universe is consciousness. And whether you go, whatever physicist you listen to, past or present, it could be the many worlds theory of Hugh Everett. It could be, excuse me, our more modern physicists who believe that there's a hologram. There are a lot of physicists jumping on board that believe that we have multiple timelines. So it doesn't matter. Or it could be just as simple as the Copenhagen. I mean, it could be just as simple as the observer effect. What you see in your mind and imagination, and add emotion to, they don't cover this in the observer effect, but I know that it's part of it, you project outward. And we know that that's true. So my obsession then has been, after 25 books of all this research and all this evidence and all this proof and all this science and all the metaphysics and all the spirituality and even the religious text, why is it so hard for some people to reach amazing heights and experience absolute inner peace, while other people are still dog paddling in the water of life? And I want to be clear, even when you have semi-mastered, because I don't think anyone on earth has mastered it, maybe Jesus and Buddha, Dalai Lama is probably pretty close, Paramahansa Yogananda, but we still have this world, this life, this physical reality that we've already created from all the past fears and memories and experiences. And we're always, always going to evolve, and we're always, always going to continue having reactions to things that we already created. It's a catch-22. What came first, the chicken or the egg, right? But be that as it may, my obsession has always been in trying to understand this, and not just because I'm a curious cat, but because with all of my experience and knowledge and tools and dedication, I want to be able to help people that are in this camp that haven't been able to get to a higher level. Excuse me. And not all people need to be multimillionaires. Some people just really, truly want to live a peaceful life and not have a bunch of debt collectors on their back, right? Or they just want to have a dog grooming business, or they just want to get married and have kids and, have a nice life. And everyone is entitled to that. Everyone deserves that. Everyone was born with that right. So in going over all of my journals and, having to have metrics like you can't compare. I was saying this in my coaching group the other day. You can't compare someone who was successful in overcoming their cancer with someone who increased their real estate sales. It's really tricky. So my metrics by no means would be considered efficacy. There would be no efficacy as far as science is concerned. It would not be empirical evidence, because you have to compare in empirical science, you have to compare apples to apples. So to say, this client who had a case of cancer couldn't overcome it, I can't compare that with a client who wanted to double her real estate sales. They're two different things. I could only compare that with another client who had cancer, who did overcome it. But the way that science works, if you want the evidence and the research to be, it has to have a level of efficacy. And in order to do that, they'd have to be the same age, they'd have to, or at least have the same kind of cancer, and they'd have to have exact same time, blah, blah, blah. Well, I fortunately am not doing wellness coaching anymore, unless one of my business clients has a health issue, and then I will coach them along. Disclosure, disclaimer, I am not a doctor, not a doctor. So that being said, I don't have exact metrics. I don't have exact metrics, but here's what I have deduced. I've deduced that there's three things that make all the difference, or that are required for a person to have success and a certain level, a certain degree of mastery in manifestation. And I'm going to share them with you here. The first, and I call this the closed-eyed part, but the first is the ability to disconnect. And this is really, really important. I got to turn something up on my screen here. When people start messaging me, it distracts me. That's another D word, because we have two D words here. Disconnect. And it doesn't matter what school of thought you're in. If you are religious, you can call it prayer time. If you follow me, or are more science-based, you can call it your metacreation meditation time, or you might just call it meditation. But you have to have the ability to disconnect. Now, I'm not going to split hairs here. Some people, I'm all for walking meditation. Dr. Joe Dispenza has done a lot of walking meditation and had some good success with it. And I've always said you can do walking meditation when you're gardening or golfing, where you're not talking to anybody, but you're just doing what you're doing. That's what I call waking disconnection. But what we're talking about here, and that's because I didn't include that in all of my notes and journaling. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that's not what this is. I'm talking about closed-eyed. I'm talking about your ability to disconnect on a daily basis from all the stuff that's going on around you and go inside, not paying attention to outside. That's why we call it disconnect. And bringing your brain to the alpha level, and as you get more experience, the theta level. And from that point, just even being in the stillness of that, kudos, right? Most people really struggle with that. But to be able, with practice and time, and it is a labor, it's a labor of love, but getting to that point and then being able to engage your heart and your emotions, and using your right brain, be able to envision what you want as if you already have it. And how do you do that? You bring it into your heart. So I have had many clients over the years, or many readers with all my books, who have messaged me and said, I medicate every day and I'm not seeing any difference, and it's not changing, my anxiety, and blah, 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 blah. I'm not making fun of them, but I'm saying, when I say blah, 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 they're not getting out of their left brain. They're not getting out of their beta brainwaves. You've got to get out of your beta brainwaves if you are disconnecting in this capacity. Your left brain, you can close your eyes and you can listen to a recording and you can follow it along, left brain, and just be, okay, nothing's happening, not feeling anything. That's not the same thing. You have to have, and it takes time, so be easy on yourself. Give yourself grace. You have to have the ability to relax your body, allow your brain waves to reduce, turn off the left brain, disconnect the left brain, engage your right brain, see the image, envision the excitement of whatever it is you want to create, your intention, and then bring it into your heart and feel it as if you have it right now. That is disconnection. Okay, that's the first pillar. I don't even know if they're pillars. I'm just saying three things. The second one is to decide. Now, to decide can be easy. I was telling my coaching group the other day, sometimes when people sign up to coach with me and they give me their credit card, they consider that a decision. And again, for all intents and purposes, it seems like a decision, but it's left brain. And I want you to consider, especially when it comes to coaching or any program or book that you're buying, if you say left brain, you make a decision, I'm going to try this and see if it works, or this better work, or I'm going to do this because I heard it works. It's very left brain. A decision, again, needs to include your right brain and your heart. It needs to be a full body decision. And the example I gave the other day to my group is in one of my books, I include an actual fact. And when I was doing the research for this book, I think I found 12 of where someone of small stature, it doesn't matter what stature you are, but like a woman, in this case, I think it was a 15, 20-year-old woman, lifted a freaking BMW off her dad when he was in the garage working on it, and it fell on him. Okay, she couldn't even lift a tire in a conscious left brain state. But she did that. And that's because she made a decision, a quick, instant, I'm doing this decision. It didn't have time to process through her prefrontal cortex, meaning her left brain was not involved at all. It was a gut, heart, right brain doing it. It's the same thing if you're a parent and you see your kid running, or any kid run out in the middle of the street, you're not even thinking about it. You're just on it. Okay? Full body decision is number 2. And what I mean by this is you don't just say, okay, let's just walk through one. Let's just walk through, I don't want to use money because I use that all the time. Let's walk through writing a book. Okay. You're doing the disconnection. You're feeling it. You know what the vision is. You want to write this book and you want 10,000 people to read it. That's your intention and your goal, and you can feel it. You've done the disconnection part and you're doing it every day. The decision part is going to happen after you've done the disconnection part, because now you know what it feels like. So you open your eyes and you're like, I'm doing it. And it's a full body feeling. It's I'm doing this. A decision is burn the boats. This is happening. If I had to wager money on it, I would, that every single person who has ever reached great heights, including Olympians, pro athletes, recording artists, well-known celebrities, millionaires, anyone great that you can think of, made a decision. I'm doing this. I am doing this. But I want you to note, it wasn't just a mental decision. It was a full body decision. And I find in coaching that a lot of people who think they've decided that they're going to do it have too many conditions. Like, well, I want to, but So going back to our example. So you have this vision, you're going to write this book, you're going to affect the lives of 10,000 people. These 10,000 people are going to love it. And you're just deciding, I'm going to do it. Okay, now what happens when you make a decision? And that's our third level, our third pillar, our third whatever. 3 things we're talking about that are all essential, I have found in my research, to make someone master manifestation. And the third one is to move forward with certainty. So after you've made that decision, you're going to write that book and it's going to be, well loved. You're not going to go to the movies. You're not going to drink a 6-pack. You're going to get on your laptop, or you're going to do some research, or you're going to interview people, or you're going to do an outline. Moving forward with certainty. I want you to see how these all 3 go in order, and I'll do that. I'll finish with that. Okay, we'll wrap up with that. Moving with certainty is super important, and I'm going to give you just an example from my professional life. Years ago, 25 years ago, I think it was my 2nd book, and it was for the real estate industry because I've been in real estate 30 years. And I interviewed 200 top producers. Now, this was like AOL and Hotmail were just coming on the scene. So I had to do telephone interviews. We didn't have webcams. None of that was going on. And I interviewed 200 of the nation, United States, top producers, like people making, and I don't know, I can't remember the dollar amount, but they were today, those individuals, if they were making that level of sales, they would be in the $300,000 to $600,000 a year in gross commissions, price range, value, income, whatever. Anyway, every single one of these people, and I'm going to be honest with you, diversity is we are way more diverse than we were then. But I did note in my memory, this is nothing I documented or thought about, but I did note that most of the people were over 40 and probably about 70% male and obviously 30% female and probably about 80% Caucasian. So I just want to be clear on that. And I'm not saying that should or does have any importance on it, but I'm just saying that was pretty much my population. And I'm only pointing that out because by and far, 99% of them, of all the people, were Christians, and 99% of them mentioned faith. Now, I'm not a Bible thumper. I'm not here to sell religion. I'm just saying that there is a definite correlation. I don't care who you are, what you believe in, if you have a religion or not, I don't care. There is definitely a correlation between faith and success. I'm just telling you. You heard it here. Take it or not, I don't care. But I'm telling you, it's a fact. But what I have found is a lot of people have different religions, they have different faiths. Some people have so much dogma and bad memories when it comes to religion and the way that they were brought up. I stick with science. So you don't have to have faith in a higher power, but you have to have certainty in science. And here's what's really great. In metaphysics, we would say, have faith and trust the universe. Cool. In religion, we would say, have faith and trust God. Cool. In science, we say, have certainty in science and trust the results. And what science tells us is that we live in a conscious universe, that the universe itself is consciousness, that there is a formless, creative, and loving substance. And how do we know it's loving? Because it responds to the higher frequencies of love in a positive way, and it responds to the lower frequencies of hate and defeat and depression in a different way. So we know, it's a fact, that we live in a responsive, reflective, loving universe that responds to consciousness. And it's so funny because even people like Albert Einstein, who were not fans, Einstein was an atheist. I know he was Jewish, but he was an atheist. By the time he finished the theory of relativity and began, and if you don't know this, Einstein was not a big fan of quantum physics. People always call him the father of quantum physics. Yes, him and Niels Bohr were definitely in the top of quantum physics. They weren't the inventors, but everyone thinks they are, so whatever. The point is, Einstein grappled with it. He was not a fan of it. He liked, he was a theoretical physicist, so he liked his blackboard and he liked numbers. He was a mathematician. He did not like the unknown. And even with that state of mind, being an atheist and a materialist, he absolutely ended up believing in God. Right? He absolutely ended up believing in God. So I think that is really noteworthy. But again, not trying to sell you on religion or whatever your personal preferences are. I'm just trying to say that in this last final step, moving forward with certainty it's the final frontier. Because if every time you go to cross the street and you're like, oh, there's no cars now, but there might be, I better wait. What are you doing? What is that trepidation doing? It's sending the energy of uncertainty. Do you get that? It's sending the universe, it's sending the ethers, this energy that says, I'm not sure. And the universe is responding and saying, oh, we're not sure, could be dangerous. And your unconscious mind, which is 100% just here to keep your body operating and making sure that you don't do anything that's dangerous or scary. And it's going to make sure you think everything is dangerous and scary. Your unconscious mind is going, oh, we better not cross. There could be a big truck that could come in any second. And what if you fall in the street? It's just, I'm being ridiculous. But it is ridiculous that we don't move forward with certainty, because we have scientific certainty. Now, if you happen to be a person of faith, all the better. And here's, at the end of the day, your faith has to be greater than your fear. Your determination and dedication have to be greater than your distractions. And your resolve to have what you want has to be greater than the reactions to seeing evidence of it missing in your life. So like I said, let's wrap this up, because, oh my gosh, I'm on 20 minutes. Let's wrap it up. Let's go to the beginning. You want to write a book that's going to affect 10,000 people in a positive way. You're going to disconnect every day from the left brain and the busy world, and you're going to go inside. You're going to feel it in your heart. You're going to see it in your imagination. You're going to just feel how yummy and delicious that is, and you're going to love it. And then when you open your eyes, you're going to bring that feeling with you out into the world, and you're going to go, I'm doing it. You only have to decide once. I want to make sure you get that. You only have to decide once. You don't have to decide every day. You got to medicate every day, but you only have to decide once. That doesn't mean that you can't reinforce the decision when things get weak, but it's one main decision. Mahatma Gandhi didn't say, let me march to save India a few miles today, and then I'll decide if I want to go the next day. He made a decision. This is what's happening. Okay, so it's got to be a burn the boats decision. And then the third thing is, every day you move forward with certainty. And moving forward with certainty also means that when you take a step, like say you write a chapter and it's just like, oh, this is not good, you don't just throw the whole towel in. We've gotten to be a civilization of disposable living. Like, that's no good. I'm going to change careers. I'm going to do this. You have to make a decision, and you have to move forward with certainty. So hopefully that made some kind of sense to you. It's the three things that I have noticed in my research and observation that are the most essential in helping people get from not having what they want to having what they want. And if any of those three things are missing, there's a really good chance they're not going to have that success. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know. Love your comments. Love your thumbs up. Love your subscriptions to the channel. Have a great day for now.